The last step of this exercise is to use gouache to apply highlights and adjust tones as needed throughout the piece. Gouache, while the brushes and supports and techniques that are used with watercolor can be applied to gouache, its opacity and matte chalky appearance once dry make it unique. It can be applied at full opacity, making it completely white, or semi-opaque. Gouache also comes in other colors as well, but we're just going to be using it in white. So the supplies that you'll need are a fresh container of water, a palette for mixing different dilutions of the gouache, and then a variety of brushes again. You're probably mostly going to work with the smaller brushes. You won't really need the big ones unless you have a big area that you really want to white out. Okay, and then you'll need a little squirt, like pea-sized squirt from the tube of gouache. I'm just going to go ahead and put mine in the center of my palette here, and that should be more than enough. And then I'm going to go ahead and just start working with my small 00 round brush, and I'm going to just pull some out of here and just add enough water so it can flow. If you have a piece of scrap paper from before that has some ink on it or some watercolor on it, you can kind of test it out over top of it before you go on to your final piece. So it's kind of nice to see how it layers over top of the ink, and so you can make sure that your brightest areas, your brightest white highlights are going to show up over top of the ink. After we apply the brightest highlights this way, the next thing I'll move on to is diluting this with a little bit more water so it's more translucent, and then I'll adjust any tones that are completely off. And if there's anything that I totally wanted to white out, like if I had, I don't know, a big giant reflection off of the can that, you know, I totally painted over by accident, I could white it out with the gouache and that would be fine. You can also use it to edit some things out. You just don't want to think of it like a whiteout. You want any editing that you do with the gouache to feel natural and be blend in with the rest of the piece. Keep in mind that you can always go back to any of the previous steps and touch things up. So for instance, while I was working on my gouache, there were a couple of black lines that I accidentally painted over that I didn't mean to paint over. And so now I can go back in with my small, I'm going to go in with my 00 round brush and just kind of touch up those lines. I could do the same thing with either of the other tools for ink. I could also wait until this dries and also work back in with watercolor as well. So just keep in mind you can always take some steps back. I would just encourage you to wait until things dry in some cases, because the way that we're working, we're waiting for each step to dry and then kind of working over top of it and fixing things and adding new steps, as opposed to mixing the mediums together while they're wet. So just keep that in mind. As I add lines back in that I went over with the gouache, I'm also finding myself going back around some of the gouache lines and just adding little reinforcing black edges to them to kind of give it more of that like stylized illustration look with the medium. So keep in mind you can always work back and kind of play around with line and ways that you can make things look more stylized and more like an illustration. It's also a nice way, working back and forth with the ink and the gouache is a nice way that you can start to integrate more broken line in there. You can kind of break a black line with some gouache, or you can break a gouache line with some ink and just kind of mix it up and make it a more sophisticated drawing and a more interesting use of line. Okay, and then for cleanup, you just want to make sure that you clean up your palette, cap your ink, rinse out your brushes in cold water, dump your dirty water, and then put this on the drying rack so it dries. And once you're complete, then you can show it to me and we'll move on to the next step of your project.